What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of For the Love of Bodybuilding. I'm your host, Logan Schultz, and my co host, Mr. Ian Powell.
Oh yeah, what's going on, buddy? I feel like it's been forever, but not really.
It hasn't been forever since we've seen each other, but it has been a while since we've recorded anything. So, um, let's
Yeah,
talk
man.
about how's your last 7 days been? How's your Christmas been? How's your time been since we haven't recorded in a while?
Well, there's just been kind of a lot going on, and I think December is it's probably the craziest month of the year. You got people coming in visiting and stuff like that. You've got events, maybe you've got just things, obligations that you wouldn't normally have to do. My personal last 7 days, my Christmas was great. I mean, everything went smoothly. New Year's was totally fine too. This year, New Year's, I just kind of relaxed a little bit. I think older I've gotten, the more I'm just like, it's New Year's. Who really cares? Like, do we need to go out, or can we just like watch a movie and eat some food and go to bed before midnight? That's kind of the principle I've gotten with. Yeah, everything's been kind of good. Obviously, in December we had nationals where you competed in nationals.
Correct.
So, how did that go, and how was your overall experience with that? Because I'm sure people that haven't talked to you are curious about how
Sure.
that went.
So, first and foremost, let me go ahead and just relate to your whole sit at home and do nothing for New Year's. My wife and I literally blew up an air mattress in our living room, bought some movies from Amazon Prime, and ordered Mexican food. So,
Perfect.
literally at like 11 o'clock, I was like, I'm going to bed. And she was like, we have one more hour. Stay up. So I was in bed by 12:01.
Okay, she's like, all right, I made it. I'm out.
I give you a kiss at New Year's and I'm in bed. So,
And then we're done.
yep, that's kind of how that worked. So Nationals was good. It's a very well run show. I love that show, to be honest. That is one show that you can guarantee that the competition is going to be deep, and it's going to be very deep every time. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I mean, we're talking, I think light heavyweights had 38 people, and then, heavyweights had like
Yeah.
30, and then super heavies had like 19 or something, or maybe it was 19 and 19. And then, classic was like 20 guys, 30, 38 guys, 30 guys. So I was on stage with I was on stage with 30 guys. I got 11th out of 30. Super happy with conditioning. I'm just, I was 10 to 20 pounds lighter than most of the guys on stage. Not everybody, but most of them.
Mhm.
So was very happy with the placing. I kind of came into the show with the understanding that I was vastly undersized. My lowest weight got down to 189 pounds, which is 20 pounds underneath my cap.
Yeah.
And I stepped on stage at around 192, 193-ish, if I had to guess. I woke up fasted at 194. But I have my reasons for believing that I was a little bit lighter on stage. And then, so I kind of set that expectation early that I just wanted to get first call outs. And then when I'm standing backstage, I'm looking around at everybody that I'm competing against, and I'm like, if I make first call out, it'll be massive, because I don't think that's going to happen. So thankfully I kind of already had that mindset going in, so it didn't hurt, not getting that placing. But yeah, super happy with it. Had a great time. I appreciate you and everybody else that came out to hang out and watch, and it was a good time. Post show, mentally, I'm doing much better than I did last year. Last year, I had a lot of binging sessions, whereas this year, I've been a little bit more controlled in that. And I have eaten off plan, and I have had days where I've overeaten, but I don't have those uncontrollable binges like I was having. Like last year, I would wake up and I would be telling myself that I don't need donuts, and everything in me would be like, why are you pulling into the parking lot right now? Like, telling me to stop, but I just couldn't physically stop my body from going in and ordering half a dozen donuts and a couple of kolaches and then eating them within 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah, just devouring your food, just not even enjoying it, just inhaling.
yeah, and then not only that, but being disappointed in myself as I'm eating the donuts and I can't physically stop doing
Yeah,
it.
you can't stop. Yeah.
Like, It was the weirdest thing last year. So this year I've got it a lot more under control. Don't get me wrong, I've still enjoyed food and I've still had times where I definitely overate, but it's not near to the level that it was last year. So I'm
Hmm.
doing good in that aspect. But let's talk a little bit about mindset heading into the new year.
Okay. Yeah, so everybody at this point is, if they haven't been on their stuff, which I mean, I kind of relax a little bit around this time of the year, anyways, a little bit, because burnout is a real thing if you're doing this for a long period of time or just doing it for a long steady hauls.
Mhm.
People try to do too much, and if they try to do too much, they kind of burn out in that sense. So when the new year kind of rolls around, it's more or less not trying to do too much at the start and just letting yourself build foundations to build steps upon steps to do more, right? It's like you want to be able to crawl before you walk, before you jump, before you run, before you sprint, before you do all these things. If you come right out of the gate and you try to just be a pro level bodybuilder and just have everything dialed in, like, yeah, you might be able to sustain that for a little bit, but you're going to find yourself that you're going to burn yourself out quite quickly if you're into the bodybuilding space and you're trying to maybe go for a pro card later this year, or you're just trying to compete for the first time. It's just more or less about the consistency. And with the new year, it's just finding a new structure that you can just start building into.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you said that. I've actually got some content coming out. I don't know if it's come out or if it's coming out in the next weeks, but I talk about this where it's like the worst client and the one person that I can guarantee you will not reach their goal is the client that comes to me and says, I'm all or nothing. Like, I'm going to
Mhm.
give this everything that I have, or I'm not going to give it anything at all. That tells me right there you're going to fail and that you don't have this. You don't have what it takes and you don't actually want to change. Because anybody that has ever gone through any kind of process of changing an aspect of their life or perfecting a craft or anything understands that these small changes build over time. And so if you can start this new year and your goal is to lose 10 or 20 pounds, and you just start by cutting out fast food, or you decrease the amount of soda that you're intaking, you increase the amount of steps that you're taking, right? Um, Maybe you don't sit down for 4 hours and watch TV at the end of the night. Maybe you go for a walk, right? Let's take some minor steps in changing your daily habits, and then let's build upon those, right? Now, if you're trying to step into the bodybuilding world, like, we can start out with being 70% on plan, right? Like, let's figure out stepping stones that work for you and fit your lifestyle of where you already are, and let's build upon that and grow upon that. And then you're going to get to somebody like um where we are, where it's like, I'm on plan 80 to 90% of the year. um like, every check-in that I send Andrew is going to be 80 to 90%. Unless I'm in prep, then it's 100%. And by
Mhm.
80 to 90%, I mean that's one or two out of every 10 meals is off plan.
Mhm. Yep, which is a very good ratio. People don't really understand. If you've actually really dieted hard or dieted consistently, not having like an off-plan meal for like a month or longer, it feels like a very, very long time. And a lot of people that tend to do that usually get burnt out. And then whenever they do have that off-plan meal, they go bananas.
Yeah.
They kind of go, they just eat like pizza, wings, and an ice cream afterwards. And then that's just like 3,000 calories in one sitting.
Yeah, it's hard to grasp the concept that that food is not going anywhere. It's like, for some reason, people seem to think that if they follow a meal plan, or if they follow, I'll say a meal plan. I don't want to say diet. I don't like the term diet, but let's say a meal plan, right? We're following a meal plan. Your food has to taste bland, which is the absolute worst misconception you can have.
Hmm.
And then B, it's like when you do get a pizza or you do have a burger or you do, have Mexican food, like, it's the last time you're ever going to get to eat that. And that's just not reality. Um,
Yeah, it's like people are afraid of food scarcity, but if you look around, you can just go drive to the grocery store, drive somewhere. You're going to pass by like your restaurant or your favorite, you like Taco Bell. You're going to pass Taco Bell. It's going to be there
It's going to be
in
there
one
when
month, next
yeah.
year, or 5 years, or 10 years. It's never going away. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people have that food scarcity, where it feels like they need to have that
And
in their routine.
and what's so crazy is like your goal is more than likely has a finite amount of time. Like there's a
Hmm.
timeline on that goal, and
Absolutely.
if you can just reach that goal first, right? Like I promise you that meal, that pizza, that burger, it's going to taste a lot better if you get there, right?
Yeah.
Um, from experience, I know.
Yeah, and I think to your point of like kind of having the bland things and stuff like that, I think when I first started bodybuilding seriously, I felt like I needed to. That was just kind of my way. I also didn't grow up in college like cook a lot of meals. Did a little bit, but I wasn't really like doing cooking that much. So whenever I went into bodybuilding, I got a coach. I was just making sure I ate what was on the plan and doing salt and pepper or whatever. And I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was just trying to eat what was on the plan. I didn't be creative, and I feel like the further you go in this, the more you're going to have to do more creative things with your meals, because you will get to a point where you'll eat that meal and you will not be able to even like look at it or touch it. You will
Yep.
not want to put it down at all. You're going to have to find different sauces, different recipes,
Mhm.
different things. And really, for most of the year, outside of like a contest prep, even like the 8, 10, 12 week mark, you can macro things pretty damn well.
Yep.
All it takes is a little bit of effort, a little bit of time to buy your ingredients, set aside that time, and create something fun. There's tons of things out there on Instagram that you can follow, that you can save, that you can pin, that
Mhm.
have millions of recipes, really. And these people are readily available from your phone. You don't have to buy any sort of cookbook. You don't need to do anything sort of elaborate. I remember back in, when I was a teenager, stuff like that. If I wanted to look up a recipe or something like that, basically everything was gated by like an ebook, or it was some sort of thing, because social media wasn't really prevalent. Now you can just go on there and the full recipe and ingredients are right in front of you. You don't even have to think about it. Just buy your groceries and do it.
Yep. I think the thing is that a lot of people, when you send them a meal plan, I like to specify, and granted, most clients don't do this. I have a welcome packet that literally states everything that I list on your meal plan. Think of it as an ingredient. It's an ingredient to a recipe. Okay.
Mhm.
You just need to use 4 ounces of chicken and 150 grams of rice. Okay. You can make what you want with it as long as you don't fry it, you don't add a bunch of fat. Um,
Yeah,
we're
don't
not,
much bad
we're,
oils and stuff like that.
yeah, we're not doing anything crazy that's adding a bunch of outside calories to it, but like vegetables, no sugar added sauces, like we're okay with that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, like you can do so much. And what I like to do personally is to make my food. So in the off season, we need to make our food more palatable, right? Like it needs to taste good. Because what ends up happening, and you know this, and you've probably done this, I've definitely done it, is that we get lazy and we just kind of bulk the food and we throw it together and we throw some ketchup on it or some hot sauce on it and we just eat
Yeah.
the chicken and rice.
Yep.
But what ends up happening is that we then get to a point to where when we look at that food, we automatically get nauseous,
Yep.
or we get 4 bites in to a large meal and we get nauseous and we can't stomach it anymore, so then we have to go buy
Mhm.
Chick-fil-A. Okay, I've done
Yep.
this tons of times. So the key to that is to make it more palatable, make it good, make it a chicken fried rice. Or what I like to do is you can substitute 50 grams of rice for 15 grams of honey. That's automatically going to make it taste better, and it's going to make it more palatable, right? And so then you're going to salivate for it, which is the start process of digestion, and you're going to be able to eat that meal consistently, right?
Yep.
Or I like to swap out some of that rice for fruit,
Mhm.
throw it into a meal.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a while ago, but it's so funny. We literally do the inverse. Now I'm trying to do this more proactively, but the inverse of what we do is in the off season we make bland meals. We
Mm-hmm.
put things together and we just eat because we're like, oh shit, we have to eat so much of this. We just put it down, put it down, put it down. And we get to contest prep and gear starts shifting. Then you start getting hungry and then you make your meals taste even better. And now you're noticing you're eating your meals like in 1 minute. You're not even taking the time. The reverse of that is where we should be doing is in this off season or maintenance phase or wherever we're kind of doing holding phases to make those meals taste really good. And then whenever you switch to contest prep, make it a little bit more bland because you're going to just destroy it regardless.
Yep.
It's a way better way of doing it. And I never really even thought about that until like I think one of the podcasts that I was listening to mentioned that. And I was like, you know what? I was like, yeah, I've been doing this all wrong. I've been doing it the opposite way. It's because the hunger signaling is not there.
Yep.
And to kind of trick your body to have more hunger signalings outside of, daily activity and direct cardio is to make your meals more enjoyable. And that's where finding these recipes and stuff like that come in super clutch because you're like, oh my God, you can have pizza. And that kind of fits. And it's the way these people make it. It's like, yeah, you can. You just have to set aside the time, do the ingredients, and get it done.
Yeah. I mean, logically, if it's so funny because I think we got it from the same podcast, and thankfully I got it during prep. So during prep, I actually stopped making my food taste so good until the very, very end, whenever he kind of wanted it to taste good. He kind of wanted me to be, salivating
Hungry.
over the
Yeah.
next meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it was like, it was rice, chicken, and hot sauce. Like,
Yep.
my food still tasted good to me. I just wasn't making it hyper palatable. I wasn't making protein
Bunch of
dressings.
sauces. Yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
adding a bunch of, no zero sugar syrups and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because palatability is going to stimulate hunger, good or
Yeah.
bad. And, I think one of the telltale signs of this, and I don't know how this didn't click to me earlier in life. But yeah, you're right. Like if I can't eat 4 bites of chicken and rice, but I can then go order Chick-fil-A and eat it with no problem. What's that tell you? It tells you
Means your food sucks.
that my food sucks, right? Like it had nothing to do with my hunger.
Mm-hmm.
It just had to do with what I was
Weren't
eating.
interested in it. Yep.
Exactly. Right. So if we just make that food taste better, we should be able to eat it no problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah,
simple
that's
thing.
a very simple thing. I mean, my off season that was basically 2.5 years long. I went through a period of time that I'll never go through again, and that was eating a shit ton of food, bland. And there was about 12 to 18 months where I was just
Yeah.
I don't even know how I was a human at that point. I was just eating the same things over and over and over and over again to where I was basically almost burnt out of it. Now that I've gotten further in, I think like I said, more often you do it, the more you're just like, oh yeah, like I can make things more fun. You don't have to be as lazy or as strict, and there's a lot of that into it. But even nowadays, they make dieting so much easier than it was back in the day. Like I remember watching videos of these 90s and 80s bodybuilders. I was like, they don't have no sugar-free sauces.
No.
They don't got any of these crazy things. Like they have to like do probably these random like herb dressings, like these random things to mix together. But most of the time, those guys were just hardcore, and that was just the way that you did those things back in the day. But you don't have to do that anymore. There's
Nope.
so much. There's a whole different world of dieting now.
I mean, also they didn't quite have the knowledge that we have today, right? Like no
No.
sodium used to be a big thing back then. It's like
Yeah.
salt makes your food taste good.
Yeah. Salt your food.
Yeah.
It's not going to raise your cholesterol. You're okay. Your blood pressure's going to be fine.
It's one of the things that still drives me nuts because there's still all of these misconceptions when it comes down to dieting and eating and eating food, dieting or being on a meal plan
Mm-hmm.
and what it takes to be, healthy and have a good physique. And it's just so like it drives me up a wall because it's so outdated that I'm like, how is this still the information that is circulating around like the mass public?
Yeah.
Like, how
There's
are
still
we?
so much information out there, but there's still so much bad information out there, and it's just like I don't know how
Yeah.
people are just getting from the wrong sources on what they're following. But yeah, it's everywhere. But that's also the double edged sword, right? Of social media, right? Because there's just so much. It's just like you follow one, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
I think this is it. Then somebody else says something totally different.
Yeah, and especially if you're a new person, right? And you look up something and then you're like, well, but this and then this and then it's contradicting and then you're just like, nope, and you get out, right? And so now you don't have any information at all because everything is so contradictory and a lot of it's not good. Some of it's good. Who knows? It depends on who you run into or what pops up. But when you're getting conflicting things and you don't know anything, you don't know what's good and what's bad. It becomes overwhelming, and then you just kind of get out. And then you ask people like us stupid questions that they're not necessarily stupid, but they're annoying because they're so outdated. The information, like the creatine question.
Creatine's a steroid.
I swear, if somebody asked me if creatine is bad for your freaking kidneys,
It's bad for your
4 more
liver. It's bad for the
times.
kidneys.
Oh my God.
I actually haven't heard that one in a long time. Have you heard someone ask you that recently?
Oh yeah.
If it was bad for your kidneys?
Yeah.
Because it's going to dehydrate you and turn your kidneys into stone.
I think in the last 6 months, I've been asked about creatine probably 15 times. About whether it's good or
over
bad
this
for you.
people.
Huh?
Yeah, we're over this people. It's been over.
Yeah. And what's funny is it's been a range from like 18 to like 50.
Yeah.
Like it's not just one subset of population. Like it's like a large range.
There has been it's like the most studied freaking supplement, man. Like there's no kidney, there's nothing.
And not just for performance or muscle growth or anything like that, right? Like it has studies regarding the brain, regarding the heart. Like the amount of studies done on this supplement is ridiculous. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, creatine, like maybe when I was like in high school, if you took creatine, you were like on steroids.
Oh yeah,
that's what people thought.
Yeah, I remember taking the crap out of some Crealkaline and feeling like if I didn't take my dose, I wasn't going to get huge. So.
Yeah, I think we talked about. I don't know if we talked about it already. I feel like I've always told this story before. Is I used to creatine load back when I was like 13, 14. And I would just mix it with water. I put 20 grams of creatine in water, and I would just drink it. It was disgusting. I was like, oh my God.
Everything back then tasted terrible.
Oh, yeah.
I remember getting a protein. I worked at GNC. It was a franchise GNC. And I used to be able to buy products that were about to expire for next to nothing. Okay. Mm-hmm. It would be like, I would pay like 33% of the price. Okay. Because if it expired, then he couldn't legally sell it. So he made nothing on it. And I remember this one time I was drinking this protein. I want to say it was like GNC's Beyond Raw product or something. I don't know. It was a protein drink. But I would literally have to hold my nose and chug it so that I didn't throw up. It was so disgusting.
Oh, yeah. There's multiple of those mixes. I remember I ordered one from bodybuilding.com because that used to be the only one of the places online you could really get supplements. And it came in like a tub that like you get baseballs out of it and you'd like do for like batting practice. Yeah. But it was a tub and it was just like this concrete mix. And I remember I had to like mix it up and slush it. And I would just like, I'd be like, all right, let's go. And it was just like, I was just trying to put on weight. And I was like, I don't really want to eat food. So this is my
let's go down that rabbit hole. So when I had graduated college, I had done my freshman year. And I'd moved back home because I lived with a friend my freshman year and their parents. And, I kind of told them that I'd be out by summertime. So I was out and I moved back home and I was training with a good buddy of mine. And I bought this stuff called Russian Bear. Okay. Russian Bear came in a normal tub, but it was like 3 servings in this tub, and one serving was 5 scoops. It was a laundry scooper like this, and it was 5 scoops mixed into a gallon of milk, a gallon of whole milk. And I would drink that throughout the day while eating, like the chicken tenders, like that come like the Minitizer chicken tenders.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would eat those between meals, like that would be my meal, and then I would drink this Russian Bear.
Is this a weight gainer?
Yeah. So it was 5,000 calories with the protein plus the milk. It was insane, dude.
Yeah, I found it. I found it.
Did you
I'm
really?
looking at it. I'm looking at it right now. You can buy it right now. It's $75. They still make it.
They still make it?
5-star review, 39 reviews. Oh my
No
god.
way.
Yeah, look it up. If I could show my screen, I'd share my screen. But yeah,
I've
this
tried
is
to
a real
share
thing.
I've tried to share the screen on this before, and it doesn't work very well.
I don't know
Holy
how to do
crap,
it.
A1 supplements. That is it
See,
right there.
yeah,
Wow.
vital Russian bear 5,000 weight gainer.
Yeah, dude. Okay,
It's
so
it's got it's got to
the
taste better now, right?
the macro, I mean, no, it tasted good back then, to be honest.
It was just the way you had to
Um
mix it. You had to like get a
well,
hand mixer.
yeah, it was just so large. So let's see. This one says 3 scoops is 752 calories, 5 fat, 141 grams of
Five,
carbs,
five
40,
fat.
yeah, 5 fat,
Oh
um,
God.
40 grams of protein. But it doesn't say like the one that I had. Okay, so oh, I can't see it. The nutrition label actually on the bottle tells you how much it is when you mix it with whole milk.
Oh
Yeah, it
yeah, I don't like when they
doesn't
do
have it
that.
listed. Yeah, it doesn't have it listed, and I can't pull it all the way up to see it.
They want you to mix that shit with like whole milk, and that just to me that just sounds like fucking just way too much.
Oh, I smelled
Oh,
so bad, so bad. It was the smelliest time in my life.
that's a sign that you shouldn't be doing that.
I didn't,
Your
I
body's
didn't,
like I don't like this.
I didn't grow at all. Like
Oh no. Oh yeah, I just got fat anytime I used a
I don't,
weight gainer.
I don't think I digested any of it. I think it just kind of passed through me, to be
I
honest.
just bloated through you
Oh,
and
it was terrible, absolutely terrible. Okay.
yeah. Well, we've been on a tangent here with mindset. I think I wanted to quickly talk about just your post show
Okay.
mindset because I feel like that is what people really struggle with a lot. If you're competitors at post show, I believe the more times you do a show and the more times you go through this post show process, it gets incrementally better each
Mhm.
time. Obviously, there's life scenarios where it depends on where you are in life. Like, if you kind of sacrifice and you put everything on the back
Yeah.
burner and then you do a prep and then after a show, like, yeah, there's certain situations where it's pretty bad, but it's kind of understanding hunger signaling and understanding that you can stop eating. Once you stop eating, you're not going to starve. With that feeling of whenever you even eat too much, even the next day, you feel like you're starved.
Yeah.
It's a discipline, but also it's just an experience thing that you have to just continue to expose yourself to.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of factors I think that play into that post show and how bad it is, and one of them is how hard was the prep? How lean did you get? Because last year, arguably, I had my worst post show mentally, but I also had gotten the leanest that I'd ever been. For the first time, I had striated glutes, like I was peeled. This year, I was leaner, but I'd already kind of been here. Last year, it was like really hard dieting. The last, 4 weeks were virtually no carbs, 2 hours of cardio, and it was brutal. This year, it wasn't nearly as bad to get this lean. So I think that those factors play a role into it, and yes, your experience too. But then you have to understand if you can mentally keep in mind that you're still going to get a free meal or two a week. Um, but keep in mind you're controlling yourself for your health, because if you start binging, your body holds on to everything and your body is so responsive, your blood pressure is going to spike, and that's really the main issue, right? Is that you're going to hold a tremendous amount of water, blood pressure spikes, and then you're kind of not setting yourself up for a productive off season. Now we've got to go through, if you continue to do that this entire time, now we have to clean up before we can go into an off season.
Mhm.
Whereas if you just come to the understanding that this is only going to suck for like 6 weeks, maybe 8, depending on how things go, but then you're back to normal, because all that has to happen is you just need to put on enough body fat to maintain normal hormonal function of ghrelin and leptin and things like that, and then we're back to homeostasis, and you can continue, your body won't be nearly as responsive to the food that you're intaking. So I think understanding the facts and what's actually going on plays a big role into mindset and how you're able to cope with that. But then also finding things like I eat a lot of sugar-free Jello, um, or occasionally I'll do some. I typically once or twice a day I'll do a serving of sugar-free pudding, which is 50 to 70 calories, versus and the sugar-free Jello is 10. So there are things to really what you're wanting to do is put stuff in your mouth.
Yeah, you're just trying to fill the empty void that feels like it's your stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think a lot of those factors that you said definitely play a big role into how you kind of handle that post-show period. Then it comes back to the food scarcity. It's like, oh, like,
Mm-hmm.
I can have these things, but I feel like a lot of people really, it's really, I seem like it seems to be like sugary foods that start to really kind of spiral people down if they start
Yeah.
having too much sugary foods. It's once you kind of open that floodgate in your brain when you haven't had it for 3,
Mm-hmm.
4, 5, 6 months, it's pretty strong. It tastes amazing. It's like, oh, I want to have a pint of ice cream every night.
Yeah.
I had to even stop myself this last time, to have only like a pint or two a week. Like I wanted one every day basically,
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that you just never had. But as beneficial as the post show phase can be, it's also can be most detrimental, right? Because your body is so responsive, also super responsive to fat being stored.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this depends on how lean you get and how much muscle you have. I feel like if you have more muscle, you can stay a little bit leaner, you stay a little bit sharper. But for most people, especially if you're just stepping into it, don't have a lot of muscle, your body is just going to be predisposed to just putting on fat very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You want to use this time for your post-show phase to transition to you into an off season where you can actually put on tissue. If we don't do this, then we're having to clean up fat loss phase, like you said, 8 to 12 weeks.
Yep.
Now we're back into this cyclic dieting phase, and we're not really able to enjoy ourselves.
And
But again, I think a lot of that is just more
yeah.
experience too.
And now we're just creating bad habits and we're creating bad relationships with food and the whole nine, right? So yeah, I 100% agree, right? And that sugar thing is real. Like
Yeah.
like even yesterday, I'm 3 weeks post show now. Yesterday, I'm sitting there eating my pre-workout meal, and somebody comes at the gym. Somebody comes and sets down a box of donuts, and I'm like,
Mm.
I don't need any donuts. Like, I don't want any. But that morning, I was craving donuts. Like, I had to stop myself from walking into a donut shop and getting donuts. And so I was sitting there, and I finished my meal, and without thinking, I reached over, grabbed a donut, heated it up, and ate it. And then I grabbed another, and
Like, oh, that's pretty good.
and I was like, oh my God, I want more. And I just wanted more and more. But I stopped at two, and I was like, I recognized myself that I was like, I'm craving more, but I don't need more. I just ate my pre-workout meal and I ate two
I'm not
donuts.
starving. I'm not
Yeah,
starving.
I'm
I
not
need to.
starving. I'm
I'm
not
fine.
starving.
I can stop.
Like, my body is just craving this sugar, right? And so then I walked away. I had some water, and the craving went away, right? Like the need, there was my body had a physical need for the sugar. But once I walked away and I had some water and I stepped away from it, that need went away. Like that desire went away. And so sometimes walk away, just get away from it. Like
Yeah, I do think that.
it's okay if you eat a donut. Just
Yeah.
don't eat 10.
Yeah, just stop yourself. It's okay. That's
Stop.
done it. I
Yeah.
feel like that 30-minute window after you're done eating or after you just finish eating is where you're gonna be the most hungry because your
Yep.
body's like, yeah, keep going, you're good.
100%.
I'll even have this when I like eat out or something like that. I don't know,
Mhm.
plan meal and I eat and I'm like, did I eat enough? And I'm still hungry for 30 minutes. And then an hour later goes by, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm actually really full.
Yeah.
Like you just have to, there's a delayed period where your body is just telling you
Mhm.
you're hungry. And then after you go through that 30 minutes, fine, just fill up on water until that time and you'll feel
It's
fine.
so it's so funny. Actually, I believe that there is literature that shows that the signal from the brain to the stomach to tell you that you're hungry is really fast, and pain is really fast. But the signal from your stomach to your brain to tell you that you're full is really slow. That's why people who eat slower tend to eat less than people who eat fast, because that signal is so slow that you can overeat very easily. And so that's why, that 30 minutes is kind of vital. So,
Yeah. I think that was pretty good. I think we covered a good mindset about New Year's and stuff like that.
yeah.
Post show too, and able to kind of go through how your post show experience was and stuff like that. And you're really happy with the result of nationals. Do you think that's your best look to date?
Absolutely. And I think
Yep.
that anybody looking at it would agree.
Mhm.
And so, yep, good episode. Let's, so I guess I'll talk to you next time.
We'll talk to you next time.
All
Later,
right, buddy.
guys.
Later.